Hello, my name's Paul Gold. I am the CEO and president of Sports Surfaces, and I have held that position since 2007. I've actually been in the sports construction world since 1998 when I started with Budge Tennis, which was one of the oldest sports construction companies in the world.
What would you say that sets your company apart from others in the industry? We've seen an incredible growth of sports like pickleball, padel here in Florida. And tell me a little bit about which sports surfaces construct.
Well, what sets us apart from the industry is basically the fact that we take a systematic approach to everything that we do. And we're a very technologically advanced company. We're also licensed certified general contractors. We're also licensed civil engineers. So we can handle any type of project that comes along. If a clubhouse needs to be built, we can build it. If a building, any height building comes along and is on a project, we can do it. Our design team is made up of 10 engineers and architects, from civil to structural. Basically anything that you would need to do a design, we have that in-house. We also have an in-house surveyor, laser grading equipment to do high precision paving and road work, or any kind of court work. And we can also build roads, of course. That's actually pretty easy compared to building a tennis or a basketball court or pickleball court, which has a lot more precision and needs to be paved a lot, with a lot higher standards.
Yeah, we've seen for most of our readers that most of them might be at country clubs. We've seen how clubs they went from just having tennis courts to now have a pickleball, try to construct paddle courts. How have you seen that growth of pickleball and paddle here in Florida?
Pickleball has exploded. It is one of the fastest growing sports in America. The fastest growing sport, believe it or not, is Padel. Padel, a lot of people are not even familiar with it, but it's the fastest growing sport in the world. And to make it simple for the viewers, it's like a pickleball court, just a little bit bigger. It's a little bigger than a pickleball court, but it's enclosed with glass, and it incorporates a lot of racquetball, pickleball, and tennis together in a really fun sport. I have one in the back of my house. You've seen it, you've played on it. I was sold. I said, this is the funnest sport I've played next to tennis. I'm an avid tennis player. It really is my favorite sport of all sports. It's my favorite pastime activity. There's never a time that I won't turn down a game of tennis. But the padel is a very close second in terms of fun, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of being a little easier to learn than tennis, and a little bit more challenging than pickleball. So I find it really is a fantastic sport, and it's really such a fun sport that brings communities together, that I love building them. I love putting them in the communities. And of course, pickleball has taken off like there's no tomorrow. We encountered some problems with the pickleball court, and we encountered some noise issues where cities were shutting down pickleball courts. Communities were complaining like crazy about the pickleball court noise. And we partnered up with a company called Sport Sonic Guard, which has a windscreen that stops all of the noise from the pickleball paddle. So that's really very, very positive.
And I want to ask you a little bit about paddle, building a paddle court. What are the main challenges of building a paddle court compared to pickleball and tennis?
Well, the padel courts need a lot of engineering in order for it to pass inspection. So a lot of companies come in from Spain, they come in from a lot of different parts of the country, and they're selling these courts. And their goal really is to sell the court, but nobody wants to just buy the court. They need it installed. So in order to make a sale, they tell the customer no problem, they'll be able to do it. And at the end of the day, if they're not licensed, if they don't have the engineering, it'll never pass. And we get a lot of calls from customers, begging us to take over the project and one, permit it, two, get the engineering so that they won't have fines and won't have to take the courts down. People don't realize this, but if a person just installs a court and doesn't pull a permit, if and when the building department finds out about this, they will make them remove the court. Best case scenario, they might let them go back and hire an engineer, do all kinds of inspections, but that's very hard to do. Most of the time, they would just simply make them take it down, get everything in place, the permits, the engineering, and then they'd be able to install it again.
Yeah, as someone who has been in a project involved building a paddle court, a paddle club, I know that the permits here in Florida, I don't know, you can tell me better, I guess, but due to hurricanes, due to the weather here, it can be a challenge.
Yeah.
But you guys do everything, basically.
We have 15 full-time crews, all of the equipment, and everything needed, not only to build the courts, but to service them and maintain them. So unfortunately, with any sport, you have your challenges. And with Padel, there's glass. It's a glass enclosure. If somebody hits it really hard, if a rock hits it, if something happens, the glass can break. And first, we use all types of different glass. The lowest quality is tempered glass, which will just shatter and fall. The next level is safety glass, which has a laminated plastic in between two layers of tempered glass. And that will keep, if it shatters, it keeps it in one sheet and it won't injure somebody. So this is the preferred glass. But either way, should a glass be broken and you didn't hire a local contractor, it might take 2-3 months, even sometimes more, to get this glass replaced. And at that time, your court's down. So people are losing a ton of money in rental fees due to the lack of service. And that's where we really excel, is in not just building a very high quality court with all the engineering, with the technicians who have done hundreds of courts. We service them quickly. Within a few days, we can typically replace the glass, and that'll get a Padel court in a facility up and running again. We also come in biannually, and we can add sand to the synthetic surface as needed, and basically anything else from a light that doesn't work anymore to anything that becomes loose on the court, we can come in and make sure that it's tidied up and that any little issues are taken care of right away.
Perfect. I mean, I told you a little bit how we're Florida Tennis. We're trying to grow into the paddle and pickleball communities because that's kind of what's coming here in Florida. There you go. There you see the Miami Open edition. But I want to ask
beautiful magazine, by the way. This is really first class. I mean, the camera doesn't even do justice, but this is a very, very, very beautiful magazine with some very good information.
Thank you so much. Because I know you not only construct them, you resurface them.
Yes.
And also now pickleball and paddle. How often do you have to resurface those?
Every court is very unique.
Okay.
And it depends on the surface. If it's clay, if it's hard, if it's cushion, if it's modular tile. Clay, for instance, depending on how well you maintain it, it might need a laser grading every 3 to 5 years. With a hard court, maybe every 4 to 5 years. With modular tiles, you might get 15 years in between having to replace it. You will have to clean, a hard court basically 2 times a year, maybe more. There may be some patching that's needed as the courts age. We do recommend going with, we offer the gold maintenance package where we come into a facility and take care of the courts twice a year, just like we do with the Padel courts. And preventative maintenance will keep courts going a lot longer and keep the resurfacing times, the length of time between the resurfacing a lot longer as well. And over the period of life of a tennis court, you'll save a lot of money if you maintain it properly.
Perfect. If a club owner wants to build a multi-sport facility with tennis, pickleball, and paddle court, which is what is coming these days.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your best advice for optimizing space and budget?
Well, you really have to look at the demographics of where you are, and you also have to look at what the competition has around you. You know, like anything else, if you got a McDonald's, there's a McDonald's across the street, put a McDonald's in. You have to look at how many courts are there, how many Padel courts are there, pickleball courts, and make an analysis as to what the community is really looking for. Next, with the pickleball courts, you have to worry about the noise ordinances. So, you do need to put proper fencing around it to make sure that it's high enough to stop all the noise. And I would highly recommend going with the Sports Sonic Guard. There are other noise abatement options out there, but we found that none of them are as effective, both in terms of stopping the noise and being effective in terms of cost. So we really like that. And once everything's evaluated, that's when a good decision can be made. And as design builders, we would be able to aid in this analysis. We have AI software that we utilize, which actually will tell customers best practices, the best chances they have of being successful and optimizing the property to make as much money as possible, and give the community what they're looking for. At the end of the day, that's what really matters.
We were talking a little bit ago how, for example, a common mistake for investors or clubs is buying courts from Spain, from China, whatever, and then maybe not having the permits. I want to ask you, what are the biggest mistakes club or investors make when building new courts? It could be tennis, paddle, pickleball.
Biggest mistake is not going with a company that's licensed, insured, bonded, and of course experienced. And sometimes saving a little bit of money can cost a fortune. I've seen it time and time again. We've seen a lot of jobs in Miami where they'll hire a local person who claims that they know how to build a court. The fencing has one bag of concrete. You can go and move the poles by hand. The first big wind that comes down, the fence is lying on the floor, and they realize that why they save so much money. Also, they use substandard products. They can use fencing that is very thin instead of Schedule 40 heavy duty fencing. They can go with something that's imported from China and is very thin. It'll rust right away. So there's it's a lot of corners that people can cut. But this is not the savings that they should have. They should invest the money into a high quality product. They should do the studies to make sure that they're maximizing their revenue. And all of this will really lead to a successful installation.
Perfect. And my last question is, how can we find Sports Surfaces? How can we reach out to you for any club, director of a club that wants to build tennis courts, resurface them? Same with paddle, same with pickleball.
All right, you can go to our website at www.sportsurfaces.com. That's singular, sport, and then surfaces, plural.com. Or just call us at 888-423-1120.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for telling us, as I was telling you a little bit ago, how we want to grow the content here in Florida Tennis Magazine, not just with the tournaments, the players, everyone. You're a big tennis fan. Everyone wants to know about the results, the players, their interviews, but we also want to kind of tell our readers, our audience, how these sports, these racket sports are growing and how more and more courses are being built here. So we want to have some more knowledge about this specific. So thank you so much for giving us all
Thank
this
you,
knowledge.
Osvaldo.